All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're on a quest to find the truth. Not some huge philosophical truth, but one that hits a lot closer to home for all of us. The real story behind our investment returns. So, let me ask you this. How well did your portfolio really do last year? You probably have a number in your head, right? A percentage from your brokerage statement. But is that the whole story? Is that the number that truly matters? Well, here's the thing. That single percentage can be, frankly, pretty misleading. See, performance isn't just one number. It's a whole narrative. And to really understand that story, you need to know which questions to ask and which metrics hold the answers. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with why one investment can have a bunch of different returns. Then we'll separate your personal experience from your manager's actual skill. We'll figure out how to compare apples to apples, look at what you actually get to keep, touch on the wild world of leverage, and finally, put together your new investor toolkit. Okay, so the big problem boils down to this. Investing isn't something that just happens once. Real life is messy. We add money, we take money out, and all of those cash flows, your deposits, your withdrawals, they totally warp the simple math of just looking at the beginning and ending value. That's the core problem we have to solve. And to solve it, we really need to look at performance from two different angles. Think of it like two sides of the same coin. One side tells the story of your personal journey with your money. The other side? That tells the story of the portfolio manager's pure, unadulterated skill. First up, we've got the money-weighted return, or MWR. This is your story. It's the return you personally earned, and it's super sensitive to when you put money in or took it out. So let's say you put in a big chunk of cash right before the market took off. Well, your MWR is going to look amazing. This is what the pros call an internal rate of return, or IRR. It's the one number that explains your portfolio's growth, factoring in all your personal decisions along the way. Now, on the flip side of that coin is the time-weighted return, or TWR. This is the gold standard for judging a fund manager, and for a really good reason. It basically surgically removes the impact of your decisions, all your deposits and withdrawals, to isolate how the manager actually performed. It answers one simple question. How well did the manager grow a single dollar if it was just left alone for the whole period? So let's just hammer this point home. The money-weighted return answers, how did I do with my specific timing? The time-weighted return answers, how did the manager do, completely separate from what I did? One is your personal journey. The other is a pure measure of skill. They're both important, but they tell you very different things. So how does the TWR pull this off? Well, it's pretty clever. It just breaks the timeline into little pieces. Every single time money moves in or out, that's the start of a new mini period. You calculate the simple return for each of these little periods, and then you just chain them all together. This little trick is what lets you completely neutralize your actions and see the manager's performance in its purest form. Okay, on to the next challenge. How on earth do you compare a fund that was up, say, 5% in 6 months to another one that was up 8% over 2 years? It's impossible, right? To make any kind of useful comparison, we need a standard yardstick. We need to annualize the returns. Let's just imagine for a second you see a fund that made a 0.2% return last week. I mean, that sounds like nothing, right? Barely worth mentioning. But what does that tiny number really mean over the long haul? Well, check this out. If you take that tiny 0.2% weekly return and compound it over a full year, it becomes a whopping 10.95%. And notice, it's not just 0.2 times 52. That would only be 10.4%. That extra 0.5%, that's the magic of compounding. That's your returns earning returns. And it's exactly why annualizing is so important. And, it even matters how often that compounding happens. Whether your returns are calculated annually, or quarterly, or daily, or even continuously, which is kind of the theoretical limit, The more frequent the compounding, the more your money is working for you. It's one of those small details that can make a huge difference over time. So far, everything we've talked about are numbers on a page, right? They're kind of theoretical. But what about the return that actually ends up in your pocket? To find that number, we've got to start peeling back a few layers. So we always start with the gross return. Think of this as the big, beautiful total pie before anyone gets their slice. It shows the pure investment skill of the manager, minus only the direct costs of trading. But of course, that manager has to get paid, so the first slice of the pie comes out for management fees and other expenses. What's left over is the net return. This is the amount the fund actually earned for you. And we're not done yet. For most of us, Uncle Sam is gonna want his share, so another bite comes out of the pie for taxes on any dividends, interest, or capital gains. Now what's left is your after-tax return. And this brings us to the final and, honestly, the most important layer of all, inflation. Because a 5% return sounds great, but it's not so great if inflation was 6%. After we strip out the loss in purchasing power, we finally arrive at the real return. This is the number that matters. This tells you how much your actual wealth, your ability to go out and buy stuff, has actually increased. Now, let's take a quick look at a really special case. Using leverage. You can think of this as adding rocket fuel to your portfolio. It can create absolutely spectacular results, but boy, is it risky. Put simply, a leveraged return is what you get when you use borrowed money, maybe from a margin loan or something, to control a much bigger investment than you could with just your own cash. The whole point is to amplify or supercharge the return on your own money. But here's the absolute truth about leverage, and you can't ever forget it. It's a double-edged sword. It doesn't just make your gains bigger, it makes your losses bigger too, just as powerfully. A tiny dip in the market can turn into a complete catastrophe when you're using leverage. Phew, okay, we've covered a lot of ground. But the key takeaway from all of this is that each of these return metrics is a specific tool. And just like with any toolkit, the real trick is knowing which tool to pull out for which job. So let's stock your new toolkit. If you want to answer, what was my personal result given my own actions, you use the money-weighted return. If you want to ask, how skilled is my manager ignoring my actions, you look at the time-weighted return. To figure out what did I earn after fees, you need the net return. To know how much did my purchasing power really go up, you have to calculate the real return. And if you're using borrowed money, you've got to track that leveraged return. So the next time you look at your portfolio's performance, please don't just settle for that one big headline number. You now have the toolkit to dig way deeper. You know the right questions to ask to get the true story of your returns. So, which question are you going to ask first?